Former NFL player star Ricky Williams takes his wife's last name to create balance in the relationship. Okay, listen, I don't really care about him taking his last name, but this picture looks creepy. It looked like she kidnapped him and took him to this location and transported a white man's brain into his body. Like, this looks like Get Out. That's what this looks like. There is an 80-year-old white man in that man's head. I'm trying to tell you. Okay, his real name was like Tyrone, but like his given name is like Gunther or Arthur, or something like that.
Section 26(1)(a) to C of the Births and Deaths Registration Act 50.
So my boyfriend and I were talking about, marriage and taking, changing last names. And I said, I'm sorry, but my last name is just great. And unless I'm changing it to like Buffett or, Gates, like I don't want to take another white man's last name. My people have done that already. That's how I have the name that I have.
There's this new trend of men taking their wife's last name. You didn't marry her, you got adopted. Next anniversary gift's gonna be at bedtime. If you're changing your last name, there better be a discount on the wedding. Imagine proposing with, will you let me take yours?
Oh, it's getting real interesting out here, because why are more men saying, yeah, I'll take her last name? Now, listen, about 3% might not sound like a lot, but in traditional terms, that's enough to shake the table and flip a few family group chats upside down. For some people, this is giving progress, equality. We building something new together. But for others, they are not having it. Talking about legacy, manhood, family name must live on. Whole dissertations in the comment section. But let's be real for a second. Why is it even a fight? Marriage is literally two people deciding what works for them. Not Twitter, not your uncle, not your barber. Some people don't want to lose their identity. Some men don't care about the tradition. And some couples just want to create their own lane. And this seems to work for them, but it's triggering a lot of folks. Because when people break the norm, it forces everybody else to question why they follow it to begin with. Now let's talk about it. Would you ask your husband to take your last name? Do you know anyone that has taken the last name of their wives? Fellas, would you do it? Or is it a hard no? And if it bothers you, why does it bother you so much? Check out these clips, because the internet is definitely divided on this one. Like, share, and subscribe, and let's debate in the comment section.
My husband and I took each other's last names when we got married. Let me explain. Recently posted a TikTok talking about how my husband and I hyphenated our last names when we got married. Instead of doing the traditional girl takes the man's last name thing, it caused quite the debate in the comments. The main question that I've been seeing everyone ask is, what last name will our kids have when we decide to have kids? And honestly, I think our kids will just have 4 names. Asa, my husband, actually had 4 names growing up. He had 2 middle names. Also, all of my best friends growing up had 4 names, and there was never any issues with it. I think we've decided all of our kids will just have the hyphenated last name like we do. For context, our last name is McKnight-Howard. We love it. Another one of the top comments was, how did we decide whose last name would go first? We didn't really choose based off of anything other than sound. We just went around saying both Howard McKnight or McKnight Howard, and had all of our friends and family vote, and whichever one they thought sounded the best is what we chose, which was ultimately McKnight Howard. I saw someone in the comments say they thought Howard McKnight sounded better, but guys, it's just simply too late for that. I get asked pretty frequently like why we decided to do this. I did not want to give up my identity with my name, and he didn't want to give up his identity of his name. If neither one of us wanted to give up our last names, which is totally valid and fair, we just decided to take each other's. It felt like the most equal and fair thing. I do feel a little bit like taking the man's last name is a bit outdated anyway. It was a good way to modernize it while still being fair. Other one that I saw was like, well, what happens when your kids get married? What do they do? That is up to them. I don't care. They can get rid of one last name, they can get rid of both last names. It is up to them. At that point, they're adults and they can make their own decisions. I would hope that the family name would carry on, but that is completely up to them. That's a faraway problem. I know there are lots of different cultures who also do different things with last names. So I'd be really curious to hear in the comments like what it is y'all do. Here to give you his testament. How do you feel about it, babe?
I think it's the perfect solution. I love having your name.
We love it. Let this be your sign that you can honestly do whatever the crap you want to do when you get married. Sure, people might have opinions about it, but you are welcome to do whatever you think is best. And I love my name. Bailey Marnay.
Would you take your wife's last name for $1 million?
I'd take it for
I'll take a first name. For $750 or $750,000?
$750. I think.
I'll take her first
Because
name.
I think it's like the processing fee is like $50 or $100 in court. You keep the remaining. I take it.
I would take her first name. My name is Jenny Godfrey.
I take her first and last name.
Hell yeah.
And put it for $1 million. You're taking. That's a done.
I take it for $100,000.
Hell yeah! What? Please.
I love my long last name, man.
You don't even know my last name, so what is your last name? Give me your last name, I'll take it.
I was scared that my wife wouldn't take my last name. You know what I mean? I was like,
for some money,
for $1 million.
I saw this drag path video of this guy taking his wife's last name. All of the comments were praising him so much. They were saying, he's a good man, Savannah. This is when you know he really loves you. And as I was watching that video and looking through all of the comments, it really stood out to me that we are living in the past. Women are expected to do this all the time and are never praised for it. Like, we would never see a video of a woman doing that and her getting praised for it. Women are expected to take the man's last name and nothing is said. But suddenly when a man does it, he is an angel living on earth. Someone said that because it's not the social norm and he's going against the social norm, we should be, celebrating the small wins. And I replied that there's actually a lot of danger in celebrating, especially over celebrating small wins. Please pause to read what I commented, but essentially I was saying that if we use the past as a benchmark, it overstates progress and understates how much change is still needed. The person actually ended up replying to my comment saying that actually made a lot of sense. So it's crazy that so many of these comments are celebrating this man over something that women do all the time, and they are never praised.
Hot take, I think it's stupid that we take the men's last name. First of all, easier genealogy-wise to track the woman's last name. Okay, that just makes the most fucking logical sense. But despite that, if I have more degrees than you, I'm not taking your last name. Whose last name is on all of these degrees? Mine. So guess what you're taking, buddy? I don't care if you are a junior. You're not anymore. You're a me. You're a me. And people are like, oh, well, you can pick the first and middle. I want all the names. I want all of their names. Okay? Yeah. Now, if you love your man down and you want to take his last name, I'm not judging you for it. You do you, boo. I'm just saying, like, if my man's not like, if we can both rock your last name, that's cool. I don't think he's really the one for me. We should at least have a conversation about it. So, yeah.
Nothing that you can say or do that will convince me to change my last name to yours.
Funny enough that before today, if a woman had asked me, when we get married, can I take her last name? And if we were to have kids, can they take her last name? 10 times out of 10, I would have said no. And then when she would have asked me why, I would have gave her a generic answer like, it's for my legacy, I'm a man, that's just how it is, and things of that nature. Until I did my research earlier today, and this all stemmed from, women not having no rights to do anything, and everything was in the man's name. Money, lineage, and all of that was within a man's name. And I sat down and I thought, and I opened my mind to think, like, at the end of the day, do what you want. There's no law that the woman has to take the man's name. At first, I thought that was a law at first. I don't, no lie, I thought, but it's not. And I was just doing a little bit of research on the internet. You can do that. But it also goes deeper than that too as well. Let's say a woman that you're looking to marry, her father only has daughters. When that, when that daughter gets married and she actually takes the man's last name, that lineage ceased to exist. It doesn't exist anymore. And especially if, the lineage and the legacy that has been left behind is very strong from the woman's side of the family. So after today, I've decided I really don't care. I wouldn't mind. It's something I'm actually open to, because there's not a lot of legacy and lineage behind my family last name. And that's something that, I'll talk about a lot later. But I don't mind. I used to think it was like not masculine and like the woman just wants to have power over you, but that's just like childish thinking in my opinion. So, you know, I don't mind. I think it's actually a conversation that two people that are getting together should have. You should have the conversation. Be like, hey, this is, you know, what I want, this is what I want, you know, and then just go forth from there and see what works for both parties.
So this guy took his wife's last name. It's the most sickening thing. This is what's wrong with stuff.
Okay, it's absolutely wild to me that a man rated unreliable and hyper-partisan thinks that he's the authority on love and marriage. Look, if a cuddle, a last name change, and mutual respect are enough to threaten your entire worldview, then maybe marriage really isn't what you understand after all. There were a few things in your video that you might want to consider unpacking. If you actually want to know why I took my wife's last name after marriage, I've already made a video on it. Feel free to check it out. But there were a few things in this video from Graham that I do want to address. See, one of the first things that he says is, I'm pretty sure the Bible says, wives submit to your husbands. Well, you see, he was half right there. He went straight to Ephesians 5:22, which says, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do the Lord. But he skipped over Ephesians 5:21, which says, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ, which frames it as a mutual submission, not one-sided. But I get it, reading the whole verse might be tough when cherry picking feels easier. Now he makes some progress when he brings up that the Bible also says, men, love your wife, and that's a two-way street. Exactly, it's a two-way street. But it's funny how you can acknowledge that and still try to turn marriage into a one-way dead end. Next, he follows it up with saying, when this chick gets home, he's running up and putting his arms and legs around her. I'll tell you what, hell yeah I am. I absolutely love and adore my wife, and I'm always excited to see her when we've been apart. Does affection make you question your masculinity, though? Because I'll tell you what, that says way more about you than it does about me. Next, he calls out my wife opening the door for me. Kindness isn't emasculating, Graham. If you see weakness in that, maybe it says more about how you define strength. Then he continues on this tangent and goes, no husband of mine is touching the trash or cleaning the toilet. So let me get this straight. If my wife cleans, she's the maid. If I clean, I'm emasculated. It sounds like in your world, no one's allowed to respect each other. In our home, love looks like sharing the load. And if you see that as her controlling me, maybe you've confused control with partnership. Then he kind of goes on this weird tangent about me being the little spoon in the bedroom. Hell yeah, I love to be the little spoon. There is something so special about being held in the arms of someone who makes you feel safe and loved. But you know what? My wife also loves being the little spoon too. If being the little spoon bothers you, maybe there's some issues with intimacy that need unpacked. And then he goes, this is the most sickening thing. Sickening? Nah, it's just healthy. But maybe that's what's hard for you to swallow. See, Graham, here's where you really lost the plot. You said that my wife doesn't love me enough because she didn't take my name. Let me educate you, though. Love is proven through commitment, sacrifice, and respect. The whole last name thing came from coverture, medieval laws that erased women's legal identities. That's property rights. So me taking my wife's name doesn't mean she doesn't love me. It means that I actually love and respect her enough to treat her as my equal. So if my wife kept her name, or if I took hers, or if we made one up all together, it doesn't erase our love. What erases love is trying to measure it with outdated patriarchal checklists. And telling women that they're not marriage material if they don't play by those rules, that's not biblical. That's bullying. My wife doesn't need a different last name to prove that she loves me. She proves it every single day by choosing me. And damn, am I lucky that she did.
My wife and I have been married for 5 years now, and here are 3 reasons why we decided to take each other's last name. 1, I personally did not care whether my wife took my last name or not. I wasn't really something I thought much about. It wasn't really a big source of pride to me. She could have taken my last name. She could have kept her last name. It really didn't matter to me. But I think we were having a conversation one day and I was like, what if we take each other's last name? Her last name is Allen. My last name is Granderson. We would be the Allen Grandersons. I'm like, that has a ring to it. That sounds nice. Let's do it. So we did it. The second reason why we decided to take each other's last name is that we wanted to signal and reflect the fact that our relationship was a true partnership. It has been since day one. And so we wanted to signal that we are two people coming together to go on this journey in lockstep as equals, full partnership. in full agreement that this is the life we want to build together. And so we thought that taking each other's last name would help us do that. The reason is we just wanted to. Obviously, the world, society, our family, our friends, everyone's gonna have their opinions about what you should do and what you shouldn't do. But at the end of the day, the only people that matter in the marriage are the people who are in it. And you have to do what works best for you. What works best for us may not work best for another couple, but that's the beauty of marriage, is you get to make it whatever you want to make it. And I think us realizing that and unlocking that freedom has done wonders for our sense of liberation in this marriage. Like, we prioritized liberating ourselves from the opinions and the expectations of what marriage is and what it has to look like. Because obviously there are going to be scripts that people are going to try and put on our marriage and say, this is what you're supposed to do. This is the role you're supposed to play. This is how it's supposed to play out. You have to write your own script, and you got to write the script that works best for you. So you may look at us and say, like, I would never want my husband to take my last name. Hey, you got to do what works best for you. You may be a husband and say, I would never want to take my wife's name. If you guys both get on the same page and agree, hey, do you. That's the biggest thing, is do you. And us taking each other's last name was us doing our own thing. So I encourage you to do the same, not only in marriages, but just in life in general, because at the end of the day, it's your life to live, and you have to answer to yourself at the end of the day. So you might as well be happy with the decisions that you make.